In this episode of the Exploring for Security Podcast 2024 in review, and what's next for the podcast.
Computers now have primary control of critical functions.
Houston, recommend vector transfer.
Your go for APU shutdown on time.
Roger, go for deploy.
Nice to be in orbit.
Welcome to the Exploring for Security Podcast, where you will learn, explore, and grow your security mindset. I am your host, Timothy D. Block, and in this episode, we'll be exploring what happened in 2024, and we'll look ahead to 2025. Show notes can be found at exploresec.com/EIS. Feedback for the show, timothy.dblock@exploresec.com. You can also hit me up on LinkedIn if you'd like to connect. Let me know you listened to the episode. Well, this episode or other episodes. Rate the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. That is key for helping grow the podcast, and I would love for you to help me grow the podcast, especially if you're listening to this, because you actually care about the podcast. And in 2024, there's a couple ways we can compare it. Obviously, in 2023, the podcast was not around. I still had listeners because one of the things I liked about this podcast is that it's more timeless content, and people can kind of pick up and listen to the episodes as, you know, they're coming into the industry or they're digging into a different topic. That's kind of the intent. So I've seen still people listening and subscribing to the podcast. If I really wanted to compare it, it'd be like 2018, which was my final year. And I saw significant growth that year, probably by about 60% by the end of the year. So didn't get that. I kind of remained steady, but with this podcast, I'm not expecting it to just blow up and be an overnight success. Really don't want that. Would, again, love for people to get to listen to this and really get takeaways from it, provide feedback. I actually don't get a lot of feedback. If you would like to give me feedback, again, hit me up. Or, if you love the podcast, please go and rate it on your favorite podcast platform. This year we expanded into Spotify and into Amazon podcasts, and I'll submit it to wherever your favorite podcast listening platform is. For example, mine is Overcast, but that kind of pulls from iTunes and some of the other stuff. And I think I saw those were the highest numbers. But anyways, did expand into YouTube. I need to maximize the SEO on the YouTube channel, but at the very least, if you like listening to podcasts on YouTube, you can subscribe there. I am looking to this next year do a little bit more. We did one live podcast, which was a lot of fun. It was a 2-hour long podcast with the ILF crew where we talked about the whiskey and the barrel picking. That was for raising money for charity, so it was a good time to do that. And I really enjoyed that. And we'll probably look to do live podcasts in the future on the YouTube channel. So you can go to ExploreSec on YouTube and subscribe there if you want to watch that kind of stuff. I am thinking for that I will, for certain content, record live sessions. I have to be careful because I do get to have some really great conversations with people that it's like, we really don't want to record this conversation down and get ourselves in trouble. So that's just typical stuff. But YouTube, definitely, I think for sponsor content, I've got some sponsor content coming up. Might just do a live session. Those won't be like scheduled or anything. I think I'm just going to like plan those, maybe promote them a little bit, but then just kind of record them live. Would love to start getting some audience interaction, things like that. Obviously, for selfish reasons, YouTube is like the highest or the third highest search engine on the internet. So that helps the podcast grow. You see a lot of podcasters going to video podcasting. If you're like me, I still enjoy just the plain audio. So that's what kind of the main focus of this podcast will be, because a lot of the concepts are meant to be, consumable via just audio and listening. And I like the idea of challenging people with like visual examples that have to really kind of challenge themselves and explain it in an auditory way. But with that, there are some times when it's like, yeah, this would be kind of a nice demo to do over like video so people can go watch it. And this new generation, I have kids, they are definitely into the YouTube a lot more than just listening to a podcast. So definitely need to expand into that and kind of grow the podcast that way. But that's kind of what we're looking for ahead in 2025. And again, I'm happy that I got to release several more podcasts. I went over the 200 threshold mark. We're at 216. This is 217, or one of the other ones will be 217, but I've got 3 more in the hopper that I just need to edit and kind of get scheduled and posted. So I've got stuff through most of January. I've got some other stuff planned. So I am getting hit up by a lot more vendors. If you are a vendor or know of a vendor that might be interested in sponsoring a podcast, would love to talk to them. The sponsored content is still going to be, I'm not just going to let people come on and just talk and, spew kind of bullshit. I do vet the vendors. I look at them to identify, is this something interesting? Is this something I want to dive into a little bit more? Because I've been hit up by some really pretty well-established vendors at this point, but then there are some others that are just kind of starting. They're within 1 to 2 years, and they're trying to get their name out there and kind of build some marketing for themselves, and that's fine, because I think all these companies had to start at some point. So I will go listen to stuff. I have said people no thanks on some other vendors if I didn't really get a good sense on it. So those even though that those are vendors, I am trying to dig in and better understand. And I am totally of the, you can talk all you want to me and let me see it in practice, which is where some of the live podcasts might actually be beneficial to see that kind of stuff. But in this day and age, 5 years since I've shut down the podcast, there's been significant growth in the vendor space. And there's a lot, that's why you see all these vendor added resources or VARs pop up. It's really sifting through all the different vendors in the cybersecurity space. You can't do it on your own. So you need a little bit of help. So this podcast is, I'm trying to make a new series called What's the Problem You're Solving, with these different vendors. And that's meant to, again, dive into some of these vendors and try to find some of the up and comers that are going to that have a really good idea. This last one I did, probably the first one I did with ArtCheck with David Minton, really sounds like a great idea. It's a developer coming in the cybersecurity space trying to build out something for developers to improve security. And I love that idea, because that's what we really need within this ecosystem. We need people like him coming into the industry. So those are the kinds of vendors you're going to hear me talk about. And again, I am trying to make content. I'm not just having people come on. So, a lot of the sponsored content from last year, really, really, really just good stuff. And again, I'm trying to make it engaging, entertaining, and consumable by people so that they can take away something. And some of my favorite episodes from last year were with ShowMeCon, who's going to sponsor again this year. We're going to probably even expand it even more, so you hear more about that. Speaking of which, if you are a speaker or interested in speaking, would definitely submit to ShowMeCon's call for papers or presenters. Really great conference. If you get selected to be a speaker, everything is covered. And when I say everything, I mean everything: food, drinks, your room for the conference. It's all gets covered. It's a really great conference. It's one of my favorite ones to go to, because the crowd's a little bit different. It's a little bit like a hacker vibe, but it still has the business feel to it. So it's kind of that in between, which is really good, especially for people in either one of stuck in those ecosystems to kind of get out and see the other side of it. Really great conversations, really great group of people. Food's good. They give full-size candy bars. Come on. Would definitely recommend it. And if you don't want to speak, would definitely look at seeing if your company will send you to the conference. At this point in January 1, 2025, the early bird special is still going, as far as I know. So I would definitely recommend getting your company to sign up for it. Budget should be opening up soon, right? Get that in early, because some companies will start cutting travel and cutting conferences and training towards the end of the year. So that comes in early June. If you're a family person and you get selected as a speaker, or you're just planning to go, definitely a great city to take your kids. I take my family. My wife and kids were very disappointed they didn't get to go last year because it was early May. My kids were still in school. June is perfect. So my family will be there. St. Louis is a great town. They got a free zoo. They got a free science center. They got a free music. It's just ridiculous how much stuff they have there. And then the venue itself is a casino. So there's plenty of stuff to do. A pool with music underwater, which the kids absolutely love. Good time of the year for the pool. So with that, that's kind of your mid show me con commercial. But again, I really believe in it. I think it's a really great conference. I always take away something new from it. I am expecting to contribute to that as well, as far as I'll have a booth there. I'll be walking around with a microphone at a security conference, which is always weird. But I really enjoyed, I like trying new things with the podcast to try and really see what really engages people. We did Hallway Con, which I don't think anybody has ever recorded a Hallway Con where you just have conversations with people. So especially if you're just getting into the industry, it's really good to see how we kind of interact and how to talk to people and, just say hi. Really. All right. What else? I don't want to spend too much time on this episode. I'm kind of just winging it here. Looking at my show notes here, again, kind of not really a flat. We still had some growth. Some of it was mine. I changed the podcast, or I changed the website completely in 2023, so that dropped a lot of subscribers. But we got quite a bit of that back, so that's good. Looking to expand out. I am looking to blog a lot more. On the podcast, you'll start seeing that. I'd like to get something out weekly. I've got newsletters going up. I being in a security awareness role, this is perfect for this podcast and website because it allows me to explore different topics from a security awareness standpoint. So I am creating a lot of content that can just be grabbed. Just go ahead and take it, use it within your company. Would ask for credit, but you don't have to really give me credit. I just want people to be aware, and I'm doing it kind of internally at my own company because that's kind of my full-time job, which is really great. That I'm really trying to build a security culture, change human behavior within the company. There'll be more of that kind of stuff coming out in the future. But yeah, trying to put more on the blog. I've reached out to a couple different people about taking some of their content. Like people are posting on LinkedIn. I'm like, can I take that and just put it on my website? And I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm helping them distribute it. Again, good ideas, things like that. And that's another thing. I've been hit up by a lot of people that want to post content, but it's like, you're just doing this to did you see the website? It's not even related content. Definitely excited about that. And that's what I'm really kind of expecting out of this podcast is I'm okay with slow growth. The plan for this, and really the company itself and the website is to continue to build on it and continue to get more and more people engaged, new things. That's where feedback is so important. I don't get a lot of feedback. I haven't gotten a lot of feedback in my career. Some people go, well, if they're not yelling at you, that means you're doing a good job. I would love some feedback, some ideas from people. I'm sure that will come back because then when I did have a lot more people listening, and nowadays there's a lot more competition for podcasts, so I get that as well too. The thing is that I'm expecting this to continue on for decades at this point. I've really when I shut down the podcast, was kind of burnt out, needed to reevaluate kind of career goals and things. It's back now, and this is something that I just want to continue on, because it really aligns with what I want to do within the industry now. I finally figured out my calling, I guess you will, which is to educate, teach people, and really guide people. And I think that's the point I'm at in my career, is that I've been in IT since 2001, end of 2001. So that's over 22, 23 years of experience just in IT, but then also security I've been in since about 2012. So I've been in quite a bit of time, and I'm kind of at that point in my career where I should be the Mr. Miyagi or the guiding, the mentor or the guider for people wanting to get into the industry, which I'm excited about because I really do enjoy teaching and helping other people learn. Hence the podcast, why I started it back then. Didn't realize it back then, but definitely with security awareness being its own field now, this is a good opportunity and aligns really well with my day-to-day job. But So this is something I'm going to continue to do. And that's going to allow me to outlast a lot of other podcasts that are going to come and go. And again, we just have to kind of build that audience and engagement. And I recognize too that people aren't necessarily going to want to listen to every episode. That's not a problem. If you're not going to get anything out of the episode or you're not interested in that topic, totally fine. That's kind of how the podcast is built. Is that we'll have people that want to listen to episode. That's perfectly fine as well too. Would love to give people some introduction into the field from week to week, but also, if you have a topic that you really want to dig into, absolutely want to get you that kind of content. There was I try to do. I've looked at some of the different descriptions from top podcast of, or podcasts to listen to. And it's like, I get a very technical rap. I like to try to do other ideas within the space, right? I had Javad on to talk about, security design, things like that. I like the design, psychological human behavior, which isn't super technical. But I will say a lot of the more popular content is technical stuff. So I am looking at that stuff. I did a post for the top podcasts of 2024. Go check that out at the blog on exploresec.com. And it was definitely very technical leaning. So we'll continue to do that stuff. Rob Fuller seemed to be one of the more popular ones, but he and I have such a great conversation about a variety of different topics, and he's always talking about different stuff. For example, this is one that we've been needing to record for a while. I just need to pin him down. Is he doesn't think security awareness is worth it? I vehemently disagree. He thinks that we can put enough security controls in place. I feel like you can put as many security controls in place as you want, but you still need some form of security awareness. And I will say, getting in the security awareness field, I see a lot of things going wrong. I am very opinionated, if you haven't noticed. And I just think we could be doing security awareness even better and really just not providing the massive amount of do's and don'ts within the industry. And that should probably be its own podcast at this point. So I won't go too far down that rabbit hole. But really excited for what we're doing. Send me what you want to learn too. I mean, hit me up, timothy.dblock@exploresec.com. You can also fill out the form on my website if you don't want to give me your email address. That's perfectly fine. You can hit me up on LinkedIn as well. I want to hear what you guys are really interested in listening to in 2025, because I'd like to make that happen. So with that, I think I've kind of gone through thoroughly. Well, not really thoroughly. I'm going to probably get off this podcast and be like, I forgot to talk about that. But I appreciate everyone listening to this. If I only had one listener, I would absolutely love it. I know I have more than that. We've got about 1,500 followers on Apple Podcasts and some of the other ones. So I tell people that we're up to about 2,000 subscribers, which is a pretty large number. So really appreciate people that have subscribed. Really appreciate people that are listening. I am really excited for 2025. I hope you are as well. I hope everyone had a great holiday. Happy New Year. I hope your New Year's resolution lasts. I am going to take most of the month of January off from drinking. I'm saying that here, so I actually stick to it. I am very motivated. I've tried it before. I've lasted 4 days, and then I'm back to having alcohol. So this year is going to be different. I will also say I'm not a big believer in I think January 1 is an arbitrary date. So I actually went to bed on New Year's Eve, which is why I'm recording this now, at 9:00 on New Year's Eve. I haven't been drinking. I'm already 2 days in without alcohol and looking to do 30 days. So I'm even at the end of January, I might have a drink. But I hope everyone else, I hope you have a wonderful start to your new year. And I need a catchphrase. That's what I've been thinking about too. I need a catchphrase to end the show, because I always feel like I just say thanks. It'd be a lot more fun if we have a catchphrase. If you have a catchphrase idea, please send that in. Would really love it. But thank you all for your listenership. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.